right?
Right.
And to just pick up on your question earlier, Gigi, in regards to JJ versus Revel, I think JJ, I've always been outspoken. I've always been somebody who understood how I felt, and somebody that was unapologetic about speaking my mind. So JJ was like, JJ, pop, pop, pop it this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yo, her breath stank. And I just said it as a kid, right? And it was, but I didn't understand that as being a natural part of who I am to be a truth speaker. But I had to understand there was a maturity.
There's a lot of Haitian truth speakers in.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It's listen, we had to, and it's woven into the fabric of who we are, right? To not only be truth speakers, but truth seekers as well, right? And we understand, absent the Haitian Revolution, there is no end to slavery as we know it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it gets really, really deep if you want to go there, but it's just like, it's who we are and just owning that. So JJ had a flawed way of expressing that, right? Expressing being a bridge builder by nature, being able to help restore balance and harmony, not just to our people, but all people in general. I had a flawed way of doing so, right? Because I didn't have the right guidance at the time. My dad was arrested when I was young and then deported back to Haiti. And then my mom was a single mother raising all of these kids. So for me, I'm 1 out of 10 kids. You know what I mean? The number 8 specifically. So as JJ was was fighting his older siblings, you know what I mean? And also growing up in tough areas. You know that, like, where over 95% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. We're there for the free lunch. So JJ, that's JJ's experience. But then you pick up just by the built environment with it just in itself, right? You pick up ways of showing up, ways to identifying yourself. So I identified with a ton of, I don't want to get too deep, but I think I've identified with a ton of.
You can get deep here.
Perfect.
You can
Let's
get
do
deep.
this.
Yeah.
Let's do that then. I used to identify with a ton of fear-based ways of understanding JJ, understanding myself, right? Understanding my natural inclination to speak truth to power and to be unapologetic about it. To be able to empathize with people deeply and to ask inquisitive questions, you know, like there was a time when I grew up in the trap house. This is still JJ. I'm like going from elementary to middle school and I'm like bounce around a little bit. But growing up in a trap house, JJ always was curious as to, why the dope boys that I'm growing up with, like those that I really have respect for and I understand have good hearts, why are they stories told as if they're just the worst people in the world? Then I just stopped and asked questions. So JJ was always asking questions. And he believes this about himself. He believes, well, if I'm a thug, I'm going to be the biggest and baddest thug. And the whole time he's really sad because when he was born, his mother passed away. And I'm just speaking, I don't want to say any names, but speaking on somebody I grew up looking up to, right? And who was labeled a thug and a troublemaker, somebody who wasn't going to be anything. And they were doing what they were doing, right? That's the lifestyle that's the only lifestyle that they knew, only lifestyle that they understood. So I was always just curious and asking those type of questions. JJ was just angry and asking those questions. Or you have to be a hooper, you have to be rapping, or you have to be trapping. Those are the big 3 right there. And I was exposed to folks who was doing all of it. Who was making music, trapping, and playing sports. So anyways, JJ was always just curious, asking questions and just wanting to know. And it was just like, he feel responsible for the death of his mother. So he just feels like he's a problem child. And everything in society has communicated, you are a problem child. So he's like, well, I'm gonna be a hellraiser and be the best one. And it's just like, no, like, that was a false narrative. Like, yes, your conditions were terrible and communicated that you are worthless in many different ways, stuffing your pillowcases with old clothes or dirty clothes to get comfortable, that can do something to you psychologically. It can have effects. So I just was always curious, but was fearful because I felt like it was organized, a well-planned and a well-organized plot on our lives, right? Specifically those growing up in poverty. And it was like, I was just angry, but also fearful. So people didn't even recognize that JJ was really hurt, you know, because I'm not only feeling my own hurt with my mother passing away when I was 11, my father being in prison for 10 years in the States, after 10 years deported to Haiti. But then also all the narratives around me telling me, JJ, you can't amount to anything unless you, one of the big three, play sports, rapping, or you trapping. And it was just like, man, I was just fearful. I was angry. This is why, again, my educators didn't want me in a classroom. This is why I was cursing out people. I was flipping desks and, you know, and running out of classrooms. I don't need any of this. But I think Revel has matured in such a way. There's this scripture that I'm familiar with that says, when I was a child, I thought like a child. I spoke like a child. But when I became a man, I put the childish ways behind me. So in many ways, JJ is 100% here, and Revel is 100% him. That makes sense. It's I am all of that. I am all of those experiences in one. I'm everything, right? Revel is now still somebody who is a truth speaker, right? But know when when to step in and when to fall back a little bit more wiser, right? A little bit more discerning, but intolerant of BS. All in all, still, right?
Yeah.
But there's a way you can do it with a sense of love and with kindness and with grace. Because you can't use the same tools of anger, frustration to dismantle one that is building systems and seeing to it that they sustain those systems using the same tools of anger, frustration, fear. So JJ was fearful. Revel is fearless. I think that's the best way I can do it, but I'm still both and, because I don't think faith is the absence of fear, right? So I think that fearful JJ is still there. I still have that nature at times. But being able to rewire and to rewrite that narrative and what that looks like, to being fearless. And here I am as Revel, JJ, whatever, just whatever. I'm all of it.
This is good. I know you have more questions, but I have a...
Yeah, go ahead.
Come in real quick. So the story you're telling of what you experience, especially from growing from JJ to Revel, and again, I'm not sure where this question will land or how it will land, but here's my thought process. As Haitian Americans, especially from a millennial standpoint, I've ran into the story you're saying, ran into Haitian immigrants that have been doing the three, sport, rapping, or trapping in that sense. And unfortunately, not everybody kind of gets out to understand the two aspects of themselves and how you were able to decipher the fearful and fearless aspect of yourself, right? And you're at this successful stage where you understand yourself, and some may not have gone through that process. Do you think the way you went about things, what made the biggest difference for you to step out of it where others may not have, right? And there could be a Haitian millennial or Gen Z or someone growing up listening to the podcast right now and understanding that you made it out. If there was someone that was in that position and that is looking for that internal battle to figure out, there are, like I said, they've had trauma, which is losing someone that is dear to them at a young age, and they are in that position of rage and that position of just nothing else matters because I've lost the thing that mattered the most. So if in that position someone was there, what would be a thing? Of course, you created the PPP, but at the same time, what took it to get there? Besides curiosity and
I think it took a lot of pain. I think it took a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. And I think oftentimes, in particular, when you lose somebody, like I lost my mom when I was 11, and leve dize to get to work, and make sure I'm not late because she worked the graveyard shift. And I remember me wanting to use her phone. I don't think I've ever shared this publicly. Me wanting to use her phone that evening. And she was like, no, I couldn't use her phone because I just wanted to call my homeboy. I'm in elementary school. And I'm like, hey, I can't. Miss Haitian never let me use her phone. And I fell asleep. So I caught myself being upset with her. And I fell asleep and I woke up around 10:06. And I saw ambulance lights outside my house. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Right? And mind you, JJ was off the chain. I was cussing people out. I was flipping tables. I was all types of things. Just angry and hurt. So for a while, I felt like I contributed to her passing, right? Just adding stress to her life as well. So it was a lot of hurt. Her actually not being there, but then also being both mom and dad, being a protector and a provider, both and, right? Where I'm like, dang, like I ain't get too many I love yous, anything. It was mettez à genoux, my bimon, you know what I mean? Like, because she just doing her best. So it was just like, dang, she died before I had the chance to tell her I love her, you know? And it's just like, dang, you get all these accolades and everybody's wanting to tell your story and stuff. And it's just like, dang, it don't even feel good because I just wish she could see that, right? But for me, as opposed to not just allowing that pain and the hurt and that one specific experience and losing her, and it's compounded and it's multifaceted. But for me, it didn't come until I was able to get to a place of accepting it. Oftentimes, the resistance to certain things is what keeps you trapped and keeps you falling into a narrative, into a story that isn't your own, right? This narrative that says, well, you have to do the big three. And it's just like, there's a lot of hurt people that's just like, I just need, so we're going to join street fraternities. We're going to make our own little gang, right? Because we're just looking for something to call our own.
Sense of belonging.
That's exactly right, a sense of belonging. These boys got my back, right? So I'm seeing how it all works in that curious mind, and I'm understanding just human behavior from an early age, but specifically my behavior. But what kept me from I think going down that path, which I mean, I was groomed for it. I'm 11 years old. I'm learning to pick up a bullet, and when I pick it up, make sure I wipe it down. You know what I mean? Like these are the lessons that I'm getting from my OGs, right? You pick that, hey, bro, come on, come wipe that off. Like this is what you do here, and then this how you put a glove on and you stick it in the clip, right? And it's just like. Those are my lessons. So I think I was angry even with that because it's just like something don't feel right, you know? And I didn't know how to explain it. It was a specific time where I picked up, it was a 38 special, it was a revolver, a silver one. It was heavy, black tape around the grip of it. And I remember picking up this revolver and I'm putting it in the mirror and I'm like, give it up. It's a robbery. And I twisted my head. And I'm 12 years old at this point. This is a year later. And as I'm pointing in the mirror, looking at myself saying, give it up, it's a voice deep within me that says, Revel, this isn't you. And I'm like this, and I hear that, and I turn my head like, and I look, and it was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right? So then I stopped, and I started to accept everything. I started to accept the passing of my mother, and like, it's a natural process of life, no matter how difficult that is. Even death is, you learn the value of life even in that, right? The value of togetherness, and then also growing up in the trap or in the hood is both and accepting that, right? Because that too developed me into who I am. So I didn't get to a point where I was uber judgmental of the people that I used to look up to. Like, well, you're wrong, because I got a little knowledge now. And I learned about Dr. King, and I learned about Ella Baker. I've learned about all these different leaders and these different people. And it's just like, wait, there's two worlds, you know, there's two sides. And I started to conceptualize polarity, understanding that God builds and destroys simultaneously at the same time, right? He does both and causes these different opposites to attract on purpose, for a purpose. So once I started to really accept it all, Mark, I've been able to see clearly, because even the pain, it was informing something in me. and I needed both and. You know what I mean? It wasn't, I'm just so angry with this and I'm resistant. I don't want to accept this reality. I don't want to accept having to join a street fraternity and get jumped in to do something. I don't want to accept any of that. But it's like seeing it for what it was, being like, this is what the present moment is. I'm not just angry at it. But in that place of acceptance, there's a calm, there's a peace. And then you can almost see all of the pieces, and you can then decide, right? People, I read somewhere as well in the scripture, I might reflect to it, right? Oftentimes, where it says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. All these experiences were giving me knowledge. The only difference was knowledge applied then, not just having it. You have a ton of information, but do you have the wisdom to apply it, right? Do you have the knowledge, and are you applying that knowledge? So I've been able to acquire all of those things and accept it all, no matter how painful, how ugly, how dark it was. Breathe in that darkness and breathe out gold, right? Whatever it was that I wanted to see, whatever it is I wanted to do. I didn't always know what that was, right? As we mentioned just a little bit earlier in this conversation, what did you manifest? Did you know the big three? The P3: prayer, patience, persistence. Will manifest in. I didn't know. I just knew I wanted more, and I knew the present condition wasn't going to last always. I knew that wasn't my forever moment. I just knew it, but I had to accept that I was there. And in doing so, I think I've been able to speak some things and walk it out simultaneously.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Just the power of acceptance, because I do think oftentimes we as people, we can just stay in the turmoil of our pain and of our trauma, and just I can't believe this is happening to me. And there's I think what's so powerful about your story is that once you have that acceptance and awareness, and once you can say, okay, I've confirmed this is happening, this is it, but I'm going to move past it. There is something on the other side, because I do think people don't think there's something on the other side of their pain, or they're not sure what's on the other side of their pain. And I think that's what's so powerful about you, Revel.
Yeah. And I can't take too much credit for that, right? I have to credit that to a lot of my mentors, a lot of people that modeled life for me, right? Who took all the good and the bad, right? And still was audacious enough to want to present something else, And oftentimes people are comfortable holding on to fear and holding on to anger, holding on to pain, and they identify with it. It's for so long, Gigi, it was, I got to feed the family. I still got homeboys on the block right now screaming FTF, feed the family, right? That's what's driving us. But what's really driving us is fear. It's the fear of, if I don't do this, then my family's going to starve. If I don't do this, the light's going to be off. So for a while, it was being driven by that fear, right? And this is when you kind of get the burnout. You get to spreading yourself too thin. You know what I mean? But it's my identity is wrapped into this. This is why I got a chip on my shoulder, and this is why I show up, and this is what brought me so far. And it's let's see how far that gets you. You know what I mean? When you learn to then feed yourself, when you learn identity isn't found outside of yourself, isn't found in what you could provide or do for somebody else, but what you could do for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Which will only then inform how your reach, right? And how far you could actually reach in helping those, and not just a temporary hands up, but really teaching a man how to fish. You know what I mean? Not just giving them a fish or a woman to fish. But I can't take too much credit for myself, because it's been some models, those unsung heroes, and them urban missionaries, for real, that's going to get with you. That's going to talk life with you. And that's going to express their flaws and be like, well, this is what I did wrong, and little man don't go that way. Right. So I shout out to my mentors, Coach Noel, Mr. Lay, Auntie Ups and Ma Davis, Coach Simmons. These people lived it out. They walked it out. Lamb, my youth pastor, Hurst, the minister of music. And these people were real people. They weren't conventional Christians, right? Well, they was living it. They was living it. Their lifestyle was their scripture
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Is there an accolade that you're most proud of?
Ooh, accolade that I'm most proud of. That's a really good question. I think the accolade that I'm most proud of has been my marriage. Honestly, I think that has been.
Nigga, ici, on parle, moi, ici, One time for the Haitian man. I'm gonna come outside. Hey, if you want got one.
That's been it right there. That's been it.
Wow.
I heard somebody say this old max of marriage separates the boys from the men. And I think my greatest accomplishment has been able to, I think, to be a husband. I think to mature into a man and to do life with somebody. And that isn't always modeled in our community. It's not, right?
Yeah.
But
And we just lost like half of our listeners right there.
You know, it's all
They were listening. They were just like, "Oh, this man sound man." And then, you see my huh? You get the. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, ladies.
No, but that's been it. That's been the greatest, my greatest accomplishment, my greatest reward daily. You know, it's an everyday thing. Man, I don't make it. I'm not this version. I shouted out a lot of my mentors and those that I really looked up to and respected. But Revel isn't this version of Revel absent my person, you know. My wife, Maya, who's been there through it all. And as I, you know, needed a space to talk crazy when everything in my walk was just clouded, right? And it was unclear, and there's somebody who's there. And allowing me to express emotions that I had to learn how to be emotional. Like I've always, again, been aware of how I felt, and I'm going to speak, right? But I had to stop, and part of the acceptance process, right? There's a presence that's required. There's a stillness that's required. And my wife has helped me be still, right? Helped me be more present, more out of my head and more in my body. Literally. And doing so, I've been able to even make sharper decisions and really ground myself. And it's like, it's not in this award. It isn't in being a Hall of Famer at UF. It isn't, you was in this article or Central Floridian. That stuff is cute, right? But living life on the day to day, you know what I mean? It's that investment right there and that commitment. That daily commitment has been my pride and my joy, really, my greatest accomplishment so far.
Shout outs to Mrs. Lubin.
Okay, now.
Maya Lubin.
One time for the one time. One time for the one time. Like if we were trying to figure out a way to end the season, or maybe even trying to figure out a way to end this series, this is it. I feel like you put it on display not only what success can look like, but you walked us on this audio journey of what it feels like. Right? So like you have to bring in not only the factors of what you've accomplished, but bring in the pieces that allowed you to accomplish these things and how you currently feel in the moment about the journey that you've been through and that you currently are. So I think this audio journey, again, I think is going to allow others to even reflect on how they've gotten to where they're at. Sure. And even the purpose they're trying to get to overall. And even if that looks like success to them or look like success to the world, you've been able to depict the two. It's like all of my accomplishments is what the world sees and what success is like. But success to me looks like this.
Yeah.
And putting it out for someone to listen to and hear, man, I think I might go. I was here, but I might go back and listen to this episode just because. That's real. Jim, I love it. Again, if we could stop. I think we might have to talk to HR and stop this series at 40. I don't know. 41 is going to be a hard one to follow. I don't know. Keep going. 41 is going to be a hard one to follow,
but
man.
I think again, everything is divine, right? And you know, as Mark so like expertly pointed out, the connection that we all have, how that domino effect of how we all came to be. You know, whether we finish here at 40 for success or we go on into 41, I think us speaking with you, I had a whole set of questions.
Yeah.
Right? I had all these questions, and I wanted to really dive into all the different things on your resume and all the accolades. Yeah. But I'm so thankful that we didn't go there. Yeah. Right? Because again, you can Google Revel, y'all. He on the internet, okay? It's 3 pages. 1, 2, 3 on Google, okay? But what you shared is more valuable. And I hope that your episode not only will just showcase who you are and what you stand for and the message that you shared, but will also give context to everyone else that we got a chance to speak to. Because I think in everyone's own way, they've highlighted things that you've picked up on. You've just so expertly have just wrapped it all up in this like beautiful box for everyone. And so I do think like as you listen to the other people we will interview or have interviewed, go back to this episode because it gives context. And I think you really capture the spirit of Haitian people.
But with that said, y'all, nous là, oui?
Yep.
Nous là, this was episode 48. 48? En grand champ. Dans le combat. Yo. What's little JJ Cognac? JJ gotta hear this comp out right now. Nale. How would people follow you though? We need to know.
Yeah.
Because them Somalia again got check go do.
Oh my goodness.
is listen first dot last name so Revel.Lubin everywhere.
One more time. Do me.
At Revel.Lubin REVEL.LUBIN. Lubin.
All right. Any other shout outs before you leave?
Special shout out to Dr. Gregory J. Harris, who has been, I think, my right hand man, and I think incredibly influential in this version of myself today. I always tell people to look within, and in doing so, what he always tells me is to shine my light. So I just encourage everybody to look within, and in the words of Dr. Harris, to always shine your light.
Woo! Maybe that's it, oui.
That's it.
Oui. Episode 40 fini. Season n'a pas fini tout, attention.
Oh my goodness,
attention. I'm Mark the Dreamer.
I'm Gigi the Realist.
And Leona was here in spirit.
In spirit.
Yeah. And this is it, y'all. See y'all next episode, if there's one. Or see y'all next season.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, this is Gigi, and it's your girl Leona, and you are listening to the Haitian Millennial Podcast.